Part 5. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Ching Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 41. Chapter 41 shocked the whole class to be named. Qiaokong Zhao also said, "Youngest, I also want to ask you to borrow some money. You can lend me some amount." Qiaokong Sheng smiled angrily, he knew they had bad intentions. Yakaxiang regretted coming. She made up her mind that even if these three people died, she would never come again. Seeing that Grandpa was trembling with anger, Chiao Ningxun was afraid that something might happen to him, so he stood in front of him. "If you want to borrow money, you should ask me." Chiao Kongshan frowned and said, "You are a child and have no right to interfere in adults' affairs." "Aren't you qualified?" Chiao Ningxun sneered. "You all know the income of my grandpa and grandma, and they also support my cousin. You dare to borrow money just because you know that I got 300,000. The compensation is focused on my money. Do you think I am qualified to take care of it?" Chiao Kongshan suddenly choked. They really knew the news and planned to deceive the youngest. Chiao Ningxun continued, "Then I will tell you clearly now that all the money has been used to pay off the debt. Even if there is any money left, Grandpa and Grandma will not let me lend you a penny." Hong Ying's face fell, and he curled his lips and said, "We are all relatives, how can you say something so unpleasant? Repay debt? Why didn't they hear about it? It must be an excuse for them not to want to borrow money." Qiao Shulan couldn't help but speak, "This is all your retribution. When I went to you to borrow money for my father's medical treatment when your family was obviously rich, you didn't even let me in." Yakaxiang also said, "You have always looked down on our family. You knew that our family was in debt before. You avoided us like the plague. You didn't invite us to any happy events at home. Now, not long after we paid off the money, you are trying to trick us into coming here. It's really disgusting." The faces of the three people opposite him suddenly became extremely ugly. Chiao Ningxun didn't want to stay here anymore. She might as well read a book or look for fungi during this time, so she walked directly to the door. Seeing this, Chiao Shulan and the other three people also followed her. Chiao Kongsheng walked at the end and glared at the three of them with a gloomy expression. "When my family has no money, you look down on me. When my family has money, don't mess with me. From now on, I don't have you two brothers." Looking at the four people leaving without looking back, the three remaining people were stunned at the same time. Hong Ying was the first to speak. "What should we do? We have told the children that we can help them, but they still have a shortfall of 100,000 yuan to buy a house." Chiao Kongshan glared at her. "You still have the nerve to say that Chiao Shulan is also my niece after all. She came to borrow money, but you didn't even let her in. Shouldn't they hold grudges?" Hong Ying looked aggrieved and said, "Their family was so poor back then. I was just worried that I would never get back what I borrowed." Chiao Kong said, "Brother, let alone sister-in-law, we should think of a solution." Chiao Kongshan said, "What can we do? If they don't give it to us, how can we still rob it? The money is still Chiao Ningxuan's. We are 2 generations apart from her, so we didn't bother to bother her, so we can only forget it." Hong Ying and Chiao Kongzhao could only lower their heads in frustration. They regretted extremely now. Who knew that the youngest's family would receive a huge sum of money from heaven? If they had known, they would have borrowed a small amount, even a few hundred. Hong Ying snorted secretly in her heart. Even though the youngest family now has some money, her sons are not as capable as her. Her sons' combined wealth is more than 300,000. On the way home, Chiao Kongsheng apologized to his granddaughter. "I'm sorry, Ningxuan, it's all because of us that your money is being targeted." "It's okay, Grandpa, I don't care." Yakaxiang said, "Ningxuan, don't pay attention to those old people who have one foot in the coffin. They still want to be a monster all day long. If you see them taking a detour in the future, You don't have to give them a good face. Jiaoningsun smiled and said, yes, I understand. At the same time, He Yuanhui was also taking math class in the class. The math teacher was talking about the paper that Jiaoningsun taught him 2 days ago. The multiple choice questions and fill-in-the-blank questions discussed last week will be discussed today. He had already thoroughly understood the knowledge points in the paper, so he took out the questions given to him by Jiaoningsun and started working on them. There is no printer at home, so Jiaoningsun went to town to print for him in the past 2 days. Last night he watched Jiaoningsun's course at 12:30, and he was just in time to study the questions today. Suddenly, his deskmate stepped on his foot quietly. He Yuanhui was stunned. When he raised his head, he saw his math teacher, Mr. Li, looking at him gloomily on the podium with a beer belly. His deskmate whispered, "Teacher Li asked you to go up and do the 17th question again, and write down every step of solving the problem." Seeing that He Yuanhui was motionless, Teacher Li frowned and said, "What? Are you scared now? What did you do when I was in class? You are the only one left in the class to answer question 17, so you just write one, that's fine. Your attitude is so inappropriate. If you can't write and don't want to attend the lecture, then go and stand outside for me." He Yuanhui picked up the paper and glanced at question 17. He walked towards the podium with confidence, picked up the chalk and started writing the steps. "Who do you look down on? Look at what I write and it will shock you." His deskmate Guan Yiwen was extremely surprised. Even if he didn't know how to write, he still had to write without going out. "Well done." Teacher Li also looked at He Yuanhui with contempt. Snort. Pretending. After a while, He Yuanhui put down the chalk, turned around and said, "I've finished writing." The students who had been watching him answer the questions were shocked. Guan Yiwen saw him coming back and sitting down, his eyes full of admiration. Teacher Li didn't even look at the blackboard, and started to lecture again with a straight face. "As a human being, you must be sincere. Even if you can't do it, it doesn't matter. Don't waste everyone's time. Okay, monitor, you go and correct it, write out the process." The monitor immediately stood up and said loudly, "Teacher, what is on the blackboard is the correct process, and it is correct. There is no need for me to write it down again, it's a waste of time." As a squad leader, he still respects teachers very much. He didn't dare to say the last 5 words. Other students also spoke one after another. "Yeah, he did it. Same answer as mine. It seems to be more detailed than my problem-solving process. He Yuanhui is tall and tall. He is very popular with his height of 1.86 meters. He is also a bright and cheerful boy. For a time, many people in the class helped him speak." Guan Yiwen was stunned. He Yuanhui actually did everything right. The results of the two of them have always been about average. Generally speaking, he can't do it, and neither can He Yuanhui. How is this going? What? Teacher Li suddenly turned his head and looked. After looking for a while, his expression instantly became extremely ugly. He Yuanhui can do something on the blackboard, but he makes a mess on the paper. Could it be that he has a problem with himself? End of this chapter. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Qing Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 42. Chapter 42. A dog can't change its habit of eating shit. Would it be like this? Teacher Li looked at He Yuanhui with a complicated face. "Since you can do it, why don't you write it on the paper?" He Yuanhui is not someone who likes to show off. He said honestly, "I just learned it last weekend. I really didn't know how to do it before." Teacher Li breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that he had overthought it. "Have you found a tutor?" He Yuanhui nodded, "That's right." Teacher Li was a little embarrassed for a moment. He wanted to take him as a negative example, but he overturned. He could only cough lightly and said, "Okay, the solution to question 17 is the same as the one on the blackboard. Let's start talking now. One question." He continued to write questions after he fell asleep. It turns out that it feels so good to answer the questions correctly in front of everyone. He must continue to work hard. This time, even if Teacher Lee saw that he was not listening carefully, he would not care about him. What if he overturned in public again? After class, Kwon Yi-wen asked excitedly, "Why, what kind of tutor did you find? Why is he so awesome?" Why raised his eyebrows. "You want to know?" Kwon Yi-wen nodded like garlic. Yeah. You also want to improve your grades. Think. Okay, then I'll tell you. On the other side, Chiao Ning-sun returned home and originally wanted to go up the mountain to find fungi, but thinking that Yang and Hui were studying very important and would definitely be able to use the printer in the future, she asked Chiao Shulan to take the bus to the city with her. Planning to buy a printer to go back. After arriving in the city, Chiao Shulan looked at the streets on both sides of the street and asked with confusion, "Ning-sun, where are you going to buy a printer?" Chiao Ning-sun took out his mobile phone and checked the map, pointed to a place on the map and said, "I checked before. This electrical appliance mall is also owned by Junhua. Let's go there. Uncle Du said last time that he gave our card offers a 50% discount on everything under the Junhang group." After she returned home last time, she could be said to have investigated all the properties owned by Junhua. The membership card can come in handy when needed urgently. But because Junhua's card can only be used offline, even though it is convenient to buy online, she still has to buy it in person. Chiao Shulan nodded, "Okay, let's go there." The two waited for a while and got on the bus to the electronics mall. Half an hour later, the two arrived at the mall. Chiao Ning-sun glanced at the sign and walked directly to the second floor. Chiao Shulan was pulled by her daughter and looked around along the way. "Those electrical appliances look very nice, and I don't know when their home will be like other ordinary families, with all the electrical appliances they need." But she soon gave it up. The wiring in her home was old, and if she turned on a few more electrical appliances, they would trip, and it would be troublesome to buy them back. Chiao Ning-sun kept paying attention to her mother's face out of the corner of her eye. Seeing her face full of desire, she secretly decided in her heart that she would make money faster and become a solid support for her family. Soon, the two came to the printer area, and a shopping guide immediately came over to inquire enthusiastically. Chiao Ning-sun did not dislike the shopping guide, and said very politely, "I will take a look at it myself first, and I will contact you if I need it." Shopping guide had a formulaic smile on his face, "Okay, customer." Shopping guide did not look down on the mother and daughter because they were not wearing famous brands. He stayed quietly 5 meters away from them. Not far away, two shopping guides who were not receiving customers looked at the situation here and whispered to each other quietly. Shopping guide B, "I just saw her running so fast and getting ahead of us, I thought some big customers were coming, but I didn't expect it was just an ordinary mother and daughter." Shopping guide C, "They go to the cheapest area as soon as they arrive. They probably won't be able to buy anything expensive, and they won't get much commission." Shopping guide B, "That's right, maybe others will just take a look." Shopping guide C, "That's right." Shopping guide C, "That's right." Looking at the various printers, Chiao Ning-sun didn't plan to buy one that was too expensive this time, as long as it could be connected to a mobile phone to print. Coming to a printer, Chiao Ning-sun read the introduction, then turned to look at the shopping guide A, "Sister." Shopping guide A immediately trotted forward, "Little sister, do you like this one?" "No, I want to ask if this can be connected to a mobile phone." "Yes, the computer can be connected wirelessly. This is also an all-in-one machine. It can print, copy, and scan." "Okay, this is the one." Chiao Shulan has no problem with it. Her daughter earned the money and she can spend it however she wants. Furthermore, she had owed her daughter before, and now that her daughter is so sensible, she also wants to try her best to make up for it. Shopping guide asked blankly, the price of this model is more than 4,000. For students, the personality ratio is not very high. Chiao Ningsun said amusedly, are you new here? Maybe you are a college student who has not graduated yet. Shopping guide looked surprised and said, little sister, you are so smart. Thank you for the compliment. Chiao Ningsun smiled and said, I decided on this one, let's go check out. Shopping guide B and shopping guide C were shocked when they heard their conversation. They made a mistake, did it really happen? Before shopping guide A could speak, a female voice suddenly came into their ears. Chiao Shulan. The three of them turned their heads at the same time and saw a middle-aged woman walking over with her daughter. When Chiao Shulan saw the person coming, she said calmly, yeah. Chiao Ningsun looked at the two people and quickly remembered who they were. The visitor is Luo Baiyu, a friend who grew up with Chiao Shulan. However, Chiao Shulan broke up with her after she shamelessly stole Chiao Shulan's first love. After she woke up in her previous life, she also met this person when she and Chiao Shulan went out one day. At that time, her husband cheated on her and she cried miserably. Luo Baiyu saw the printer next to them and the price was very expensive. She chuckled and said, I heard that people in your family are getting sick one after another and owe a lot of debt. Do you still have money to buy a printer? Shopping guide glanced at Luo Baiyu. This person is so annoying. How could he reveal other people's privacy in public like this? Chiao Ningsun said sarcastically without politeness, Auntie, if you are in the mood to care about my family's affairs, you should pay more attention to your own men. Luo Baiyu's face suddenly changed, and she frowned, what do you mean? The literal meaning is that the law of heaven is clear, retribution is not good, heaven's way is reincarnation, who will be spared by heaven? The suffering you made my mother endure, sooner or later you will suffer it again. You, Luo Baiyu suddenly became furious, you actually cursed me to be abandoned by a man. Chiao Ningsun raised her eyebrows and said, I didn't say that, you said it yourself. Chiao Shulan saw that her daughter was so confident. Could it be that her daughter accidentally knew about Luo Baiyu being cuckolded? Thinking of this, she also straightened her back and said, you should know best if there is something wrong with your man. He was able to abandon me back then, and of course he can abandon you for others. A dog can't change its habit of eating shit. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Ching Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 43. Chapter 43 Computer. Luo Baiyu's face instantly became extremely ugly. She thought about the lipstick mark she saw on her husband's clothes before. Her husband explained that it was accidentally rubbed by a colleague. Could it be that he had lied to her and that there was really someone outside? No, they must have said that on purpose. The man she chose would definitely not cheat on her. She will not be abandoned by men one after another like that useless woman Chiao Shulan. Luo Baiyu figured it out, put what just happened behind her, glanced at Chiao Ningsun, and began to sarcastically say, what's the use of buying a printer? Your grades are not improved by printers. If you have this money, you might as well give it to she enrolled in cram school. After saying that, she looked at her daughter again and said with a proud look on her face, at first glance, your daughter is not as good as my daughter. She has just finished the college entrance examination. She has been the top student in the class before, and she has passed the exam. She said, 700 points is no problem. I brought her here to choose a mobile phone today to reward her for a good score. Chiao Ningsun raised his eyebrows and said, who said printers can't improve grades? You are ignorant, so don't say it and make people laugh. 700 points? Scores are obtained by testing, not by estimation. Ask your daughter yourself, is the estimated score really 700 points? Her daughter's grades in her previous life were terrible. In the end, she didn't go to college and went to work after graduating from high school. Luobai couldn't help but look at her daughter, and met her daughter's guilty eyes. Her heart skipped a beat. Could it be that her daughter really lied to her? In order to defraud the mobile phone first? Chiao Ningxun smiled and said, "Oh, don't pay attention to what I just said. No matter what, 700 points is a high score. She is a top student. If your daughter really gets 700 points, she will say hello to me so I can learn from her." Shopping Guide suddenly burst into laughter. What this kid said was really interesting. Chiao Ningxun turned to look at Shopping Guide A. Shopping Guide saw that she was determined to buy, so she stopped trying to persuade her and happily took her to check out. Luo Biu saw that the people were gone and no longer bothered to question her daughter. She hurriedly took her daughter to the mobile phone she was looking at just now and asked the shopping guide Ding to take them to check out. She has been stronger than Jiao Shulan all her life, and she must not be compared to her. Even though she thought it was expensive just now, she still wants to buy it now that it is expensive. So when Jiao Shulan arrived, she also lined up behind Jiao Shulan. Chiao Ningxun glanced at the mobile phone held by the salesperson next to Luo Biu, and immediately turned his head again. It is you who will suffer if you pretend to be fat. Cashier, a total of 4,099. Chiao Shulan first handed over the membership card. I heard that you can buy things at half price with this one. Luo Biu was stunned. Half price? How could Chiao Shulan have such a card? Luo Biu sneered and said, Chiao Shulan, have you been deceived? I have never heard of a half-price card in my life. In such a big shopping mall, if you pay half price, you will lose your pants. Chiao Ningxun said unceremoniously, shut up, I've already said you have little knowledge, so don't speak, you will make people laugh. You. Luo Biu clenched her fists and had to stop her activities when she saw the patrolling security guard coming over. Humph, you are the joke, I'm waiting to see your joke. The expressionless cashier took the card and looked at it, and immediately became polite. It turns out that I am a distinguished base card user. You are right. With this card, you can indeed get half the price. After saying that, she scanned the barcode and swiped the card on the machine. As expected, half the price was missing on the display. The cashier handed the two cards and the cashier slip to Jiao Shulan at the same time, and said with a smile, take it, you are welcome to come back next time. Thank you. The mother and daughter planned to return to the store to get the goods. The printer is too big for the shopping guide to carry around. He just takes the cashier slip and goes back to get the goods. Shopping guide also took another look at the mother and daughter. They seemed to be unusual. A few days ago, the leader suddenly called all the staff for a meeting and showed them what Basica looked like, telling them to be respectful when they see the owner of the card in the future. I heard that there is only one card in the world. For products that use Naka, the commission will be calculated based on the original price. Let them not worry, they did not expect to encounter it so soon. Luo Biu looked at Jiao Shulan's leaving figure in shock. She really had a half-price card. How could someone with Jiao Shulan's status have such a good card? The big man behind Luo Biu saw her motionless and said impatiently, are you going to pay or not? There are many people behind who are in a hurry. The cashier also shouted, next customer, please hurry up. Luo Biu glared at the person behind her fiercely, what are you urging me to do? Go and reincarnate. The big man was retorted and was about to get angry, but his wife shook her head and told him not to cause trouble. The big man had no choice but to forget it. Luo Biu came to the cashier and handed over the barcode. Cashier, a total of 4,500. So expensive. Luo Biao suddenly looked at Jiao Shulan, who had not gone far, and said with a smile, Shulan, can you lend me your card? Jiao Shulan turned her head, snorted, and said loudly, borrow it? Why are you so thick-skinned? You stole my man and you still want me to save money for you. Dream on. After saying that, she wanted to leave, but Jiao Ningxun held her back and turned to look at Luo Biao, who was checking out. She didn't get the card, let's see how she steps down. There were many people checking out around, and some people passing by. Those who heard Jiao Shulan's words looked at Luo Biao meaningfully. The mistress asks the real owner for help? Is this world a fantasy? Are mistresses so shameless these days? Luo Biao saw that everyone around her was pointing fingers at her, and her face turned red as if she was about to bleed. The cashier felt contempt in his heart, and his tone was a bit colder, and asked, do you want more? The big man behind said sarcastically, if you can't afford it, don't buy it. Luo Biao was so stimulated and saw Jiao Shulan and her daughter staring at her, she could only grit her teeth and say, yes. Jiao Ningxun took her mother away with satisfaction. After getting the printer, Jiao Ningxun suddenly stopped when the mother and daughter passed by the computer store area. Jiao Shulan saw her daughter staring at the laptop and said with a smile, like computers? Then buy it? Jiao Ningxun thought about it. When she became an adult, she could indeed make a lot of money on the computer, and the printer could also be connected to the computer. It would be better for her to prepare study materials for He Yuan Yang, so she did not refuse and bought a laptop. When passing by the bookstore, Jiao Ningxun bought a lot of exercises and went back to prepare them for He Yuan Hui. Since there is no internet at home, the mother and daughter went to the small town to open the internet before going back. The staff who installed the network came to install it in the afternoon. By evening, Jiao Ningxun could freely access the internet. End of this chapter. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Qing Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 44. Chapter 44. The third sentence of the formula speed. After she installed the printer driver, she began to prepare the information He Yuan Hui needed so that he could use it directly the next time he came back. The old couple had no problem with the fact that the mother and daughter went to the city and bought back 2 expensive-looking electrical appliances. They are all school supplies, you should buy them. In the afternoon, as soon as Yan Jiaxi got home, he saw his father sitting on the sofa angrily. He asked, who provoked you again? Who else could it be? Yan Rufeng said angrily, of course it's you. I asked you to buy loquats, why didn't you buy them? Yan Jiaxi was very helpless. Dad, I told you, that family's loquats are sold out and they are gone. I said I would find other stores to sell them for you to eat, but you were not happy. In the past 2 days, people at the hospital have also been complaining, saying that the loquat sellers are no longer coming. Some people have come to him to ask why, and he has always answered in the same way. Yan Rufeng frowned and said, but now is the season for loquats on the market. Why are they sold out? Don't ordinary fruit farmers plant a lot of trees? Why are theirs sold out so quickly? Their family only grows so much. Then what should I do recently? I didn't have any loquats to eat, so I couldn't sleep last night. Dad, that's psychological. Yan Jiaxi wanted to say something else, but a message suddenly appeared in the mobile phone group. Tianxia Taiping, I have sent a gift to everyone in the group. You should have received it. If you need it, come back to me next time. The group suddenly exploded. The boss actually sent a message. Is this the second message sent by the boss since the establishment of the group? Or give us something, I read that right. You read that right, you haven't been home for a few days, come home quickly, I've received everything. The group instantly became quiet again, and it was obvious that most people had gone to confirm. Yan Jiaxi came to the housekeeper and asked, Did someone send something over today? The housekeeper nodded and quickly brought the express over. This is it? Yan Jiaxi quickly opened it and was a little confused when he saw what was inside. Isn't this a chicken fur? Why would the boss give this to them? At this moment, his phone vibrated again. As soon as he opened the group, he saw the latest statement from the boss. If you like it, you can also add this phone number to WeChat. 1. The person the boss asked them to add must be extraordinary. Yan Jiaxi tried searching the WeChat ID, and it turned out to be Jiaoning Sun. Does Jiaoning Sun know the boss? Could it be that the boss is also helping Jiaoning Sun introduce clients because of her family difficulties? That's certainly the case. When Lu Jing'ai saw the message sent by his cousin, he knew at a glance what he was thinking. Cousin, if you don't help, she will make a lot of money as soon as possible. And if you do this, you will make less money. Chu Yanyi said, introduce some connections to her, and she can make money faster. I have enough money, so it doesn't matter if I make less, and there aren't many people in the group. Makes sense. Yan Jiaxi glanced at her father and said with a smile, Dad, have you identified the things from that family? Yan Rufeng glanced at him and said, yes. Then let's try this chicken fur, Yan Jiaxi said with a smile. This chicken fur is sold by that family. Yan Rufeng was not interested in the fungi and waved his hand. Whatever you want, just use it as multiple dishes. Okay, but when he took the cooked chicken fur into his mouth, he couldn't stop immediately. It's so fresh and delicious. Others were a little confused when they saw that Yan Rufeng, who had always paid attention to table manners, was eating so well. It's just some chicken fur. I've eaten it before. Is it as delicious today? Others also tasted it, and this time, everyone was shocked. It is indeed delicious. It tastes very different from what they have eaten before. Seeing that her husband had eaten too much, Mrs. Yan quickly advised, you can't eat too much. Yan Rufeng still obeyed his wife very much. Hearing this, he had to stop his chopsticks and watched helplessly as all the delicious food went into the stomachs of his family members. He looked at Yan Jiaxi again and said, this fungus is as attractive to me as loquats. If you go to that house and buy some, I will eat them tomorrow. Yan Jiaxi advised, Dad, the fungus is a hairy thing. You are still sick and cannot eat it every day. Yan Rufeng was about to say something when he suddenly thought that the two kinds of food he ate from that family were so delicious, so the other food must be good too. Okay, but look at what else they sell, you can go buy me some. Yan Jiaxi nodded, okay, I'll go when I have time. He also happened to see if the things in that house really had magical powers, and they all attracted his father. The next day, Jiaoning Sun completed his practice. She is in a good mood. Today she has unlocked another magical formula called speed. She can increase her own speed and increase the speed of others. Of course, she can also slow down. It is faster, which is very convenient in life. It can help the family a lot, and she is very satisfied. She didn't go home directly. Now she is becoming more and more proficient in practice, and she completed the process at 4 o'clock today. While surfing the internet yesterday, she learned that people who often pick mushrooms actually get up at 4 or 5 o'clock. It was normal for her to start picking at this time, since she brought a flashlight anyway. Jiaoning Sun looked at Zioha and asked, last time I asked you to find other fungi, did you find them? Are there any nearby? Although it is easy for fungi to grow again in places where fungi have grown. But she gave birth to too many babies at once that day, and she didn't know if they could still grow there. Since that side is a bit far away from here, if there was one here, she wouldn't have to go there to avoid wasting time. Zioha nodded. I found it. I am the best at finding things. There is nothing I can't find. Then take me there quickly. Good. Xiaoha walked more than 100 meters and then stopped. Xiaoningsun shined a flashlight and looked at the large swath of fungi in front of him, smiling so hard that he almost lost his sight. Not bad, it's actually morels. Morch can be said to be the king of bacteria, a well-known medicine in medicine, a tribute to the emperor in the past, and a high-end food exported to foreign countries. It is a natural health food without any side effects. Based on her previous knowledge of fungi, the dried morels in front of her could be sold for at least 1,001 kilogram. Now that she has more spiritual power, the birthing effect will definitely be much better than the last time she gave birth to Jifeng, and it is estimated that the quality will be even better. Seeing that she noticed it, Xiaoha barked and asked her to continue following. After a while, she found porcini mushrooms in another place. The variety in front of me is considered to be the most expensive among the boletus in China. End of this chapter. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Qing Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 45. Chapter 45 Matsu Take. Xiaoha barked again, turned around and walked in the other direction. Xiaoningsun quickly followed. After a while, Xiaoha stopped next to a tree. Xiaoningsun stepped forward and pushed the grass away with her hands, feeling a little surprised. It's actually a Matsu Take mushroom. It is said on the internet that Matsu Take cannot be cultivated artificially yet, and they are all wild, so the price is not bad. If you encounter the best ones, just pick up one or two, and it will be enough for the family's food expenses for a month. Seeing that Xiaoha wanted to continue taking her away, Xiaoningsun hurriedly said, "Okay, these are enough." Woof. All right. Xiaoningsun was very satisfied. Since the morels were in the most conspicuous place, in order to prevent outsiders from suddenly seeing them, she first recited the birthing formula to the morels, and the morels grew in large numbers. She squatted down and picked one up, looked at it, and compared it with her fist. It was actually several times bigger than her fist. It must have been too big. She was immediately excited. Based on her current understanding, the bigger the morels of this species, the better. Moreover, they are wild and must be very valuable. She couldn't wait to recite the speed formula to herself and began to experiment. If someone were there, they would see the number of morels on the ground decreasing continuously, but no one could be seen. One can imagine how fast Xiaoningsun was. A minute later, Xiaoningsun returned to the space, looked at it, and nodded with satisfaction. Although the speed has increased, it does not make her too tired at all. She just felt that she was picking as usual, but she felt that it was over not long after picking. It should be because of her spiritual power. Recently, she also discovered that the more spiritual energy in her body, the less likely she is to get tired. At this time, the space was filled with morels. I made a rough estimate and estimated that there should be thousands of kilograms of them. Without wasting any time, she went to the place where the porcini mushrooms and Matsu Take mushrooms were and recited the fertility formula, and then quickly picked them all into the space just like before. The ones just now are estimated to be tens of thousands of kilograms. She should sell them slowly. This way, my mother and grandparents don't have to work too hard and come up the mountain every day. Xiao Shulan woke up and was about to go to the yard to wash up. She saw 6 baskets neatly placed in the yard, and the baskets were filled with various kinds of fungi. What's going on? How come so many fungi suddenly appeared? Xiao Shulan suddenly turned her head and looked at her daughter's room upstairs. Could it be her daughter who did it again? Xiao Shulan immediately went to Xiaoha's kennel and looked at his 4 feet. Sure enough, his feet were all covered in mud. She clearly remembered that Xiaoha played in the water last night and fell asleep after playing in the water. The door was also closed. There was no way his 4 feet were so dirty. Xiao Kongsheng and Ye Kaixiang got up and walked over. When they saw their daughter standing motionless in front of the kennel, they thought she was sick and quickly stepped forward. Yakaxiang asked with concern, Shulan, what's wrong with you? Xiao Shulan looked at her father, then at her mother, and finally her eyes were fixed on those fungi. She said helplessly, Ning Xuan, this child, ran out early in the morning again. Look, she actually picked so many fungi return. Xiao Kongsheng and Yakaxiang followed her line of sight at the same time, and were shocked when they saw the fungi. With so many fungi, could it be that Ningxun didn't sleep all night? Xiao Kongsheng sighed and said, she is indeed sensible, it's all my fault. Yakaxiang said, we are very happy to have such a granddaughter, but we also feel sorry for her. She has just recovered from a serious illness, but her body is so tired every day. I do. Grandma is really ashamed of herself. Xiao Shulan asked doubtfully, it's just that you don't think it's strange? The door of our house is not silent. These fungi must weigh at least several hundred kilograms. With her strength, she must have to go back and forth between the mountain and home many times. Why don't we make any noise at all? Didn't hear any sound. The two of them were stunned and couldn't help but look towards Xiao Ningxun's room. After a while, Xiao Kongsheng spoke, people, it's better not to live too sophisticatedly, but to be more confused. The mother and daughter nodded and asked no more questions. They are now sure that Xiao Ningxun is definitely extraordinary. Xiao Ningxun listened to their words in the dark and smiled with relief. After Xiao Ningxun came downstairs, Xiao Shulan didn't ask any more questions. She just said, daughter, don't get up early to pick up fungi in the future. Let's go together during the day, so that you won't be so tired. Xiao Ningxun also knew that her mother was caring about her and said with a smile, it's okay. I went to bed around 8 o'clock in the evening and woke up early in the morning. The doctor also said that I need to breathe more fresh air and go for a walk in the mountains. Good for your health. Hearing this, Xiao Shulan stopped persuading him. At worst, when she hears the noise, she can go to the mountain with her daughter. Xiao Ningxun turned off the airplane mode of her mobile phone. She was worried about harassing calls at night and wanted to wake up in the middle of the night to check the time, so she could not receive any messages on her mobile phone when she went to bed and before breakfast the next day. As soon as I connected to the internet, many messages popped up on WeChat. She took a quick glance and noted that those who wanted to buy mushrooms from her house had eaten her mushrooms, so that she could have good mushrooms in the future. If she told them, they would give them a very fair price. Strangeness. How did these people know her WeChat ID? After a while, she received another message. Tiangxia typing, last time I gave a lot of fungi to my friends. They will probably add you. Don't worry, they are all my friends. They are not bad people. You can feel free to add them. Xiao Ningxun was stunned. The people in charge of Jiangsuan supermarket who were asked by her boss must be rich people. Then the medicines she makes or the things she produces will have more customers in the future. Thinking of this, she nodded in agreement one by one. While the family was still making breakfast, she continued to read the book. After breakfast, Xiao Kongsheng and Yakaxiang prepared to continue going to the fields. Xiao Ningxun advised, Grandpa and Grandma, you are not in good health, so why not rest at home? Those fungi can be sold for a lot of money, enough to feed our family. Xiao Kongsheng was very happy that his granddaughter was so filial, but he still refused. Ningxun, we are very happy that you have this intention, but we have been used to farming all our lives. If we suddenly become idle, we will definitely get sick. Don't worry, we have been feeling the weather recently. It's not very hot, and there's not much work in the fields, it's just watering, it's not too hard. Xiao Ningxun also knew that his grandfather was right, so he nodded and said, okay, you go. She also knows that the elderly who are accustomed to working cannot suddenly become idle and can only gradually reduce the amount of work, otherwise it will be really bad for their health. Idle people have many worries, lazy people have many diseases, and busy people have many joys. There is nothing wrong with working. Jiao Ningxun looked at Jiao Shulan. Mom, I just sent Uncle Du a WeChat message. He was very happy to hear that we found the fungus again. If he wants to come over to buy it, just stay with me at home. This time we will sell fresh ones. Come early. Realize. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Qing Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 46. Chapter 46 Discovered Again. Jiao Shulan nodded, okay, I will listen to you. While waiting for the guests to arrive, Jiao Ningxun took down the computer from upstairs and prepared review materials for He Yuan Hui while waiting. Jiao Shulan watched for a while and then went to do housework. Just as soon as she left, Jiao Ningxun received a message on her cell phone. Dr. Yan, do you grow other fruits and vegetables at home? Other fungi are also fine. Jiao Ningxun, there are some vegetables, but not many. There are also fungi. I went to the mountains to find them this morning. They are still very fresh and there are a lot of them. She was not surprised why a doctor suddenly asked her to buy vegetables. Vegetables grown by magic were good for the body. She probably discovered the benefits of loquats and wanted to buy some more vegetables to try. Yanjiaxi, are you completely recovered? Can you go to the mountain? Jiao Ningxun was stunned, he was caught again. She hurriedly sent an embarrassed emoticon, but did not answer directly. Instead, she continued the topic, do you want those vegetables? If you want them, I will pick them for you now. Yanjiaxi didn't know that she was changing the subject, but she had been back for a few days, and her body should have recovered well, so she didn't continue to hold on. I want you to pick 3 pounds of each kind for me. And are the mushrooms fresh? Give me 3 pounds of each. Jiao Ningxun, 3 pounds of each kind? Is it too much? My mushrooms include matsutake mushrooms, morels, and porcini mushrooms, which are very expensive. Dr. Yan, no, I have a lot of people in my family. Give me an address and I will ask my brother to come and get it from you later. The price is whatever you want. Jiao Ningxun, okay, what's your brother's name? Are all doctors so wealthy? Dr. Yan, his name is Yan Jiaxuan. Jiao Ningxun, okay. Jiao Ningxun stood up, put her cell phone in her bag, and went to find Jiao Shulan and told Dr. Yan that she wanted to buy groceries. Of course, she also told her the reason for buying groceries. Jiao Shulan didn't have much doubt after hearing this, and said quickly, then let's pick them quickly now. These vegetables grow too fast. I'm planning to find a day to sell them. After picking, Jiao Ningxun went online to search for the current prices of vegetables. Everything their family eats is grown by themselves. Jiao Shulan has not worked for more than a month. Except for the meat she often buys, even she does not know the current price of vegetables. While Jiao Shulan was weighing herself, Jiao Ningxun sent the menu and prices to Dr. Yan. Her prices are a little bit added to the price of vegetables purchased online. Her vegetables are so special, so it is normal for them to be a little more expensive. Dr. Yan saw that the price was acceptable to him, so he did not counter-offer and replied, okay, that's the price. I have no objection. After a while, the mother and daughter had just put the dishes away when they heard a knock on the door. The door was not closed. When the two of them looked up, the man said, is this Ms. Jiao Shulan Kiao's home? Jiao Shulan stepped forward, it's me. The man took a look at the yard and saw that there were indeed a lot of vegetables. He said politely, hello, I am Yan Jiaxuan. My elder brother asked me to come here to get the vegetables. Jiao Shulan hurriedly said, we are ready. Can I help you put the vegetables in the car? Yan Jiaxuan said calmly, "No, the bodyguard will do it." As soon as he finished speaking, the bodyguard had already come in and started moving things. Yan Jiaxuan took a look at the fungi and saw that the quality was indeed very good, so he asked about the price. Qiao Ningxun had no choice but to tell the price she checked online. Hearing this, Yan Jiaxuan didn't mind the price, so he gave the cash to Qiao Shulan and left quickly. Qiao Shulan stared blankly at the cash in her hand. There were at least 5,000 in it, which was too much. But before she could say anything, Yan Jiaxuan got into the car with his bodyguards and sped away. At this time, some villagers happened to be passing by Lao Qiao's house and saw a high-end car leaving the door of Lao Qiao's house while Qiao Shulan was still standing at the door. They all gathered around curiously. Huang Daniu stepped forward and asked curiously, "Shulan, is that a relative of yours? I recognize the logo of that car. It's called BMW. It's very valuable." Before Qiao Shulan could speak, Qiu Yu noticed so many baskets in Lao Qiao's yard and was shocked. "Oh my god, where did you pick up so many fungi?" Others couldn't help but walk into the yard when they heard the fungus. Xiao Ha was just now when Yan Jiaxuan came, and he was bored in the corner watching those people. Qiao Shulan had already put the money in her bag when they came over. These people may not be jealous of her making money, but there are many gossips in the village, and she doesn't want to be speculated about. She was a little helpless, but since they were all from the countryside, she couldn't stop them, so she had to let them in. Zheng Heng walked to the basket and said in surprise, "There are so many mushrooms, do you pick them and eat them? Are there so many fungi on the mountain? They have never seen so many fungi before." A few days ago, she heard that Lao Qiao's family had picked up a lot of mushrooms to eat. She thought it was a lie, but she didn't expect it to be true. Qiao Ningxun stood nearby and said calmly, "Eat some for yourself and sell most of it. The owner of the car just came here to buy mushrooms." Huang Daniu took a look at the fungi. They were all fungi that some old people said were inedible. She quickly advised, "Shulan, these can't be eaten, let alone sold. It would be terrible if someone eats them. I have to pay for it." Zheng Heng also advised, "Yes, some of them are ugly. If you want to eat them, buy ordinary shiitake mushrooms and oyster mushrooms. Those are not poisonous." Qiao Shulan knew that they were all for her own good and was not angry. She glanced at her daughter and saw her nodding, then she said, "These are not poisonous and can be sold for money. We don't know each other, but Ningxun knows them. Last time we've sold it once and made some money." Qiao Ningxun knew that they couldn't hide the fact that their family was selling mushrooms. She still had so many mushrooms in her space. It doesn't hurt to let the villagers know. There are only a few fungi on the mountain. Without Xiao Ha, she wouldn't have been able to find so many. Even if they found them, without the blessing of her magical formula, the fungi they found would be very small and of different sizes. Their taste would not be as good as hers, and they would not be able to sell them at a high price, and they would not be able to steal her customers. The three of them were extremely shocked after hearing this. How could this thing be edible and still be sold for money? But they also felt a little moved in their hearts. If you can really find it, you can sell it together when selling vegetables, which can also add some money to the family. None of them have read much. The men all work outside and come back less than once every 10 days and a half. They have to take care of the elderly and children at home, and usually do odd jobs. If they have more income, their family life will be much better. End of this chapter. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Qing Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 47. Chapter 47. Qiao Ningxun smiled and said, "Aunties, you can also go to the mountains to look for them, but many fungi look similar, and some are poisonous, so you must be careful. If you are poisoned, I will not be responsible." The three of them were startled and immediately began to retreat. Yes, if they are poisoned, the gains will outweigh the losses. Even if they are sold, they cannot be compensated. Huang Daniu smiled awkwardly. Okay, we will consider it carefully. The other two people also said similar things. The three of them saw the dog in the corner from the corner of their eyes and were not surprised. What happened in the village spread like a rocket, and they all knew it was fostered by the family behind Lao Chiao's house. After the guests left, Xiao Shulan quickly closed the door and said with a pity on her face, "From now on, everyone in the village will know that the fungi on the mountains can be sold for money, so our family will be able to find even less in the future." Xiao Ningxun smiled and said, "Mom, don't worry, fungi are not that easy to find. We can just continue our lives in the future. If we don't speak out today, it will be difficult for my grandparents and you to live in the village in the future." Although she doesn't care about the gossip in the village, the old man is very thoughtful, and many people in the village are kind to Lao Chiao's family. People will definitely think too much if they are talked about, and she doesn't want them to sleep poorly. Xiao Shulan felt relieved when she thought of her daughter's secret. She had already said this, so she must have had her own channel. "Okay, Mom, I will listen to you." After a while, they heard the sound of a car closing outside the door. Xiao Ningxun opened the door and took a look, and it turned out to be Du Kunpeng. Du Kunpeng and his four subordinates were about to knock on the door when they saw the door open and said with a smile, "Hello, we meet again." Xiao Ningxun told him in advance that there were a lot of bacteria this time, so he asked him to bring a few more people over, and it was best to drive a truck over. "Hello, please come in." "Okay, I'm sorry to bother you." Xiao Ningxun quickly closed the door. The things on the ground were worth a lot of money. When the villagers saw it, some of them should be jealous again. As soon as Du Kunpeng entered, he saw the fungi in the basket. After seeing the general appearance of the fungi from a distance, he actually trotted over and said, "Bolates, morels, and matsu take mushrooms. Oh my god, there are so many. The rare mushrooms are in better quality than ever before and are larger than what I have seen before." Xiao Ningxun smiled and said, "Are you sure you want Uncle Du?" "Yes, of course," Du Kunpeng said excitedly, "on behalf of the company, I bought them all. Yours this time are fresh, they will taste better, and they will definitely be more popular. Give them all to me. These are all wild things. Rich people like these things best." The last time he put ordinary chicken quivers for sale in the supermarket, he just asked his employees to send a message to the customer group that the chicken quivers had arrived. Many people were waiting before the supermarket opened, and they were all snatched up in less than half a day. It's empty, and there are old customers who called and asked to stay. There is no way, the fungi are not abundant here, and morels are basically grown artificially for food. Even if there are wild mushrooms, they are sent from other places. Plus shipping and labor costs, they can be sold at sky-high prices. This time there are also matsu-take mushrooms that cannot be grown artificially, and I believe they will be even more popular." Xiao Ningxun nodded. "You brought a scale, come and weigh it." In fact, she has weighed him once, just to see if Du Kunpeng can be her long-term partner. Du Kunpeng said, "Okay." His subordinates took the scale off the car and started weighing. After a while, Du Kunpeng looked at the records on his phone and read, "The total of morels is 300 caddies, the total of porcini mushrooms is 200 caddies, and the total of matsu take is 200 caddies. As for the price, these of yours are all in good condition. Let's see, I'll give you 401 kilograms of morels, 301 kilograms of porcini mushrooms, and matsu take mushrooms are not yet available in large quantities in Nanjing or in the whole country, so the price should be higher, even if it is shipped from other places in the future. Come here, if you can always find something in such good condition, the price won't drop too much, so I'll give you 1,000 pounds. Matsu take mushrooms actually cost 1001 kilogram. Is it so expensive? Xiaoshulan started calculating on her mobile phone, which had already opened the computer page. Her hands were shaking nervously. Although she is not good at math, she knew that the money this time was not a decimal when she heard that it was several £100 per pound. Xiao Ningxun is good at math. As soon as Du Kunpeng finished speaking, she calculated it and said with a smile, the total is 380,000. If she hadn't been afraid that taking out too much at once would cause oversupply, lower prices, and make people question the speed of her mushroom picking, she would have wanted to take out all the mushrooms and sell them at once. After all, rare things are more valuable. She knew that Matsu take mushrooms were valuable, but she didn't expect them to be so valuable in Nanjing. Xiaoshulan was surprised, it turned out to be hundreds of thousands. She was trembling all over. Oh my God, her family can actually receive 380,000 yuan in one go. It's so unbelievable. At the beginning of tomorrow, she was still worried about her family's debt and her unemployment, so she couldn't sleep, and her hair was falling out a lot. How could their family turn over in just one day? Matsu take is not gold, so why is it so expensive? The supermarket employees who came to move the goods were also shocked. These mushrooms must be too valuable. They work so hard that they can't even make 380,000 yuan a year. Sure enough, rich people's money is the best to earn. Du Kunpeng said in surprise, little girl, you are really good at math, your grades must be good, right? Are you a college entrance examination student? Today is June 11th, Tuesday. The middle schools in Nanjing are not on holiday yet. The only ones who can stay at home are the college entrance examination students. My grades are average, I'm not a college entrance examination student. Jiao Ningxun was not afraid of others knowing about her family affairs, so she told her about her car accident and how she was recuperating at home. So that's it. Du Kunpeng felt a little pity in his heart, and without wasting any time, he asked, is it still time to use Ms. Jiao's bank card this time? Jiao Ningxun nodded, well, let's hit my mother's card. No. Mr. Du, please wait a moment. Xiaoshulan came back to her senses, quickly opened her phone, opened the photo album, opened her daughter's bank card picture and said, Mr. Du, to be honest with you, my daughter found these, I didn't contribute any effort, just put it all on my daughter's card. Du Kunpeng glanced at Jiao Ningxun again in surprise. At such a young age, he was well informed. He was really amazing. Jiao Ningxun felt helpless when she saw this. She didn't want to be pretentious in front of outsiders, so she had to suggest, Mom, you don't have much money in your hand anymore. How about this? You can ask Uncle Du to transfer all the money to me, and I will transfer another 100,000 for you. End of this chapter. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Qing Chen Chen. Chapter 48. Chapter 48. The whole village knows about insurance. 100,000 is too much. Not much. Jiao Ningxun turned around and said, Uncle Du, please pass it on to me. It's okay to forward it to her, so that if her mother gets a scam call, she won't be too worried. And she also has 3 younger brothers who are worried. Who knows that one day she will not soften her heart and be defrauded of her money by those 3 sisters-in-law. Good. After giving the money, Du Kunpeng said seriously, if you have these fungi again in the future, you must sell them to me. The price is negotiable. Jiao Ningxun asked with a serious face, if I am very lucky and can find you every day with this quality, can I find you every day? Of course. Du Kunpeng said with a smile, even if you find some every half day, you can contact me. Okay, thank you Uncle Du. As soon as Du Kunpeng left, Jiao Ningxun transferred 100,000 to Xiaoshulan. Xiaoshulan saw the bank message that 100,000 yuan had arrived, and said anxiously, you kid, Why did you really transfer it to me? Chiao Ningsun said helplessly, Mom, we are mother and daughter, and we are a family. Don't tell us so clearly. Chiao Shulan was about to say something more when she saw her daughter making a silencing gesture. Just as she was wondering, she saw her daughter suddenly go over and open the iron door. Zhang Chao, who was eavesdropping, kept his face against the iron door. When he saw the door suddenly opened, he was startled. When he saw it was Chiao Ningsun, he covered his chest and said, You kid, why didn't you say anything when you opened the door? Just say it, you'll have to pay for scaring people to death. I'll pay for you, you big-headed devil, Chiao Ningsun sneered, you eavesdropped on my house and you still want me to pay you. Your face is thicker than the sky. Get out of here. When a child told him to get lost, Zhang Chao was so angry that he wanted to hit him. Chiao Ningsun snorted, put her hands on her hips and said, What? You still want to hit me? Come on, I just collected a compensation payment a few days ago, I don't mind collecting another one. Zhang Chao calmed down instantly, frowned and asked, How much did you sell the mushrooms for just now? When he came over, he heard the porters saying that the mushrooms were valuable. They also said that there were mountains in their hometown, and they would ask their family members to go up the mountains to look for them when they returned. He was also very moved by what he heard. If there were really so many fungi on the mountain, and the mountain belonged to Daguo village, why should Lao Chiao's family be allowed to make money when they couldn't? Chiao Ningsun rolled her eyes at him, Want to know? Yes. I won't tell you. After Chiao Ningsun finished speaking, he slammed the door and closed it. Zhang Chao was stunned, and suddenly he was so angry that he said angrily through the iron gate, Chiao Ningsun, I am your uncle after all. How dare you treat me like this? Do you have any education? I'm more educated than you, at least I won't take advantage of other people's loquats. Zhang Chao choked and immediately understood that Chiao Ningsun was holding a grudge because of what happened last time. He also knew that he couldn't get any useful information out of the question, so he had no choice but to spit, turned around and left. Isn't it just a fungus? They were all over the mountains and plains, and he didn't believe he couldn't find them. When he got back, he took Zhang Cai up the mountain with him. There were also some houses near Lao Chiao's house, and some people noticed that a truck went to the door of Lao Chiao's house and moved a lot of things out of Lao Chiao's house. Some curious people also came and knocked on the door after Zhang Chao left and asked what happened at Chiao Shulan's house. Several people already know about selling mushrooms, and Chiao Shulan also knows that she can't hide it. So whenever anyone came to ask, she told everyone the purpose of the owner of the truck. However, she did not say how much she sold it for. Getting 380,000 yuan in one day can be said to be a sudden fortune. Many people are jealous, but she is not that stupid. She took the initiative to speak out to make others jealous and get herself into trouble. News spread quickly in the village, so in less than an hour, most people knew that Lao Chiao's family had picked up a lot of mushrooms on the mountain and sold them for money, and special people came to collect them. Not long after, Chiao Kongsheng and Yekaixiang also came back. They knew that someone would come to collect the fungi today, but they did not expect that many people would mention the fungi when they saw them on the way back. As soon as he returned, Chiao Kongsheng said anxiously, The whole village knows about you selling mushrooms. Chiao Ningsun told them what he said to Chiao Shulan. After hearing this, the two elders also felt that their granddaughter was right. Yes, there have never been so many of them on the mountain before. Only the granddaughter can definitely find these, so they are not worried. Chiao Ningsun was worried that the two old men could not stand the fright, so he helped them sit down first. Yekaixiang asked doubtfully, Ningsun, what are you? Chiao Ningsun said with a smile on his face, Grandpa and Grandma, our mushrooms just sold for 380,000 yuan. The two elders took a breath of cold air at the same time. To make sure they heard correctly, Chiao Kongsheng swallowed and asked in shock, how much was sold? 380,000. The two old men felt dizzy at the same time, and their bodies fell back involuntarily. Chiao Shulan and Chiao Ningsun had expected it, and had been standing beside them, quickly supporting them when they saw the situation. Grandpa, Grandma, don't get too excited, your health is important. The two old men came to their senses at the same time. Chiao Kongsheng looked at his wife excitedly, did you hear that? Our family earned 380,000 yuan in one day. Ye Kaixiang said with a smile, I heard it, it's great. Chiao Shulan explained, Dad, Mom, Ningsun found the fungus. I originally wanted to give all the money to Ningsun, but she insisted on giving me 100,000. Chiao Kongsheng looked at his granddaughter with a smile. He originally wanted to say that his granddaughter was too generous, so he gave her 100,000 yuan. But last time, my granddaughter even took out 300,000 yuan. She swallowed her words again and said another sentence, Ningsun, you are a good boy. Grandpa and Grandma never thought that I would be able to enjoy your blessings in this life. Chiao Ningsun smiled and said, don't worry, with me here, our family will have more money in the future. In the future, I will let you live in a villa, ride in a luxury car, eat all the delicacies in the world, travel around the world, and enjoy everything glory and wealth in the world. Since my granddaughter came back, the family has undergone earth-shaking changes. Er Lao completely believed what she said. Chiao Kangshen's mood has never been so happy, and he said with a smile, okay, then Grandpa will be waiting. Ye Kaixiang also smiled and said, Grandma is waiting too. Chiao Ningsun thought that her grandparents were over 60 and their family had money, so it would be better to buy their insurance as well. There is also one from my mother, because she is not yet old enough, but she can pay it once a year. In this way, even if something happens to her in the future, they can be protected and no longer have to rely on others to live. Just as she made the proposal, all three of them rejected it at the same time. The reason is that their family has already used a lot of her money, they can all work, and they have land at home to sell vegetables and make money. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Qing Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 49. Chapter 49 Herbal Medicine Chu Yanyi is here. There is also money from her fourth uncle Chiao Jianru every month, which is enough for them to live on, so she can keep it for herself. Chiao Ningsun advised, Grandpa and Grandma, with the pension, it will be easier for you. With more money in hand, you can also eat better. Chiao Kongsheng sighed and said, Ningsun, Grandpa, let me be honest with you. We are both over 60 years old. The two of us who are old will spend hundreds of thousands. By then you will have no money again. Ye Kaixiang said, yes, just buy it for your mother. We don't have a few days to live. If something happens to them soon after buying the insurance, wouldn't the money be wasted? Hundreds of thousands of dollars are enough to put 3 children through college. Chiao Ningsun had a bad premonition in her heart and asked seriously, Grandpa and Grandma, is there something wrong with your health? But that all happened several years later. Could it be that their bodies already had signs of it now? She originally wanted them to eat the food promoted by the Immortal formula every day for these years. After a few years of conditioning, their bodies will definitely not have any problems in the future. No, Ye Kaixiang said quickly, really no, they are all old problems. Bone hyperplasia, rheumatism, and high blood pressure are not fatal. Chiao Kongsheng explained, most people in the village died around 70 years old, so that's why we think so. So that's it, Chiao Ningsun said seriously, Grandpa and Grandma, you have to believe that you can live a long life. It seems that she should seize the time to study medicine. Chiao Kongsheng couldn't bear to hit his granddaughter and said with a smile, "Okay, let's live hard." Chiao Ningxun turned around and said, "Mom, how about I hand over yours first?" Chiao Shulan was very pleased that her daughter was so sensible, but she still refused. "No, my health is very good. When you all graduate from college, I can take care of it myself." Chiao Ningxun was very helpless. It seemed that the 380,000 yuan was still too little. The family was even worried about paying insurance. She knew she couldn't persuade her, so she stopped. She also knows that insurance can be paid on her behalf, but she is not in a hurry. Now she has applied for it for them. They are worried that physical problems may occur at any time, which will increase their psychological burden and affect their physical health. That's all, let's wait until she has more money. In the afternoon, many people in Daguo village knew that fungi could be sold for money, and they all ran to the mountains. Chiao Ningxun is still either reading books, preparing study materials for Huny, or surfing the internet to learn about the outside world. The next day soon came, which was June 12th. Chiao Ningxun finished practicing and was just about to go down the mountain when he heard the sound of people talking not far away. "I came yesterday afternoon and couldn't find it. I went back and told my husband. He also asked his friends and said that others came early in the morning and came in the afternoon and the light was out, so I came here early in the morning today. But there is nothing, not a single flower." Yes, but how could Chiao Ningxun find so many? "I don't know, maybe she was lucky. I asked my husband if he had any tips for finding fungi. He looked for them online and told me about them. I did what he said, but I still couldn't find any." As the two were talking, they saw a figure in the distance. Their faces suddenly turned pale. It was just past 5 o'clock, and it was not yet dawn outside, and the densely forested mountains were even more eerie. Suddenly, they saw a motionless figure, still wearing white clothes. It was no wonder that they were afraid. Just when the two of them were about to shout out, Chiao Ningxun smiled lightly and said, "Two aunties, it's me." The two of them were startled, but they took a closer look at her face and suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. It turns out to be Ningxun. "Did you come looking for the fungus so early?" Chiao Ningxun looked at the sack in his hand and nodded with a smile. "Yes, I found a little bit. Keep looking. Some of these fungi are hidden in the grass and cannot be seen with the naked eye. Flashlight and wood, a stick is a necessary tool, so I'll leave first." "That's right." Chiao Ningxun suddenly turned around and said, "It's best to ask professionals whether the fungi you find are poisonous before selling them. Otherwise, if someone else eats them and something goes wrong, the seller will be legally responsible." One person said, "Ningxun, how about we let you take a look?" Chiao Ningxun sighed and said, "Sorry, I only know 2 or 3 kinds, and I also have to study and take care of my body. I really don't have any extra energy. You see, I got up so early to save time." After saying that, she turned around and left. She doesn't have a bodhisattva heart. The lives of these two families are much better than hers, and they are not the ones who have lent money to them. She doesn't want to worry too much. The two of them had no choice but to find it themselves. It's just that Chiao Ningxun's worries were unnecessary. This period on the mountain was the time when snakes appeared, and the villagers did not dare to go to places they did not often visit, and they had little experience in finding fungi, so few people could successfully find them. Chiao Ningxun has memorized all the space medicine books, so while going down the mountain, she is also paying attention to the herbs around her. Whether they were already grown or in a seedling state, she recited the fertility formula for all of them, and then put them into space to increase the efficacy of the medicine. Some seeds dropped around the herb are also spawned at the same time, which can also increase her quantity. In addition, she recited the speed mantra to herself, and the speed of finding medicinal materials was unprecedented. Of course, she avoided the villagers. In just over an hour, she had found hundreds of medicinal materials, each of which was in considerable quantity. It seems that there are still a lot of medicinal materials on this mountain, but many people don't know them and regard them as ordinary weeds. Just to make medicine, you need an alchemy furnace and other tools. It seems that she has to find an opportunity to go to the city. After Qiaoningsun came down the mountain, he walked to a deserted place and took out a sack of fungi. Matsu-take mushrooms are now the most valuable, so she took all the Matsu-take mushrooms, which estimated to be 20 or 30 kilograms. These are the ones she uses for cover, and she will take out the others when she gets home. Just as she arrived at the door of Lao Chiao's house, she saw a tall figure about to knock on the door. It took a long time to find the medicinal materials. It is already 7:30 in the morning, so it is normal to have guests coming over. Chu Yanyi. Chu Yanyi turned his head and saw Qiaoningsun holding a sack in his hand and looking at him. "You're back. Well, are you okay? Who is this voice trying to freeze to death?" End of this chapter. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Qing Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 50. Chapter 50 Sudden. He is obviously only 18 years old, but his tone of voice is like that of an old monster who has lived for thousands of years. Suddenly, Qiaoningsun looked at her hands and smiled with satisfaction. Her spiritual power was increasing again. If she could stay with this person all the time, then she probably wouldn't have to practice on her own. But this is impossible. At this moment, the door was also opened from the inside. Qiao Shulan was also a little confused when she saw the two of them outside. Chu Yanyi handed an envelope in his hand to Qiao Shulan and said solemnly, "It seems I came just in time, Auntie, this is Zioha's remaining foster care money this month." Qiao Shulan was so excited that she quickly took the envelope and said, "Thank you very much. Just give me a call next time and I'll just go and get it in person. I won't bother you to deliver it." Hearing this, Chu Yanyi took out his mobile phone and stared at Qiaoningsun with his deep eyes. "Then give me your phone number. I will call you in the future and ask you to go to the back to get the money." Qiao Shulan had no objection after hearing this. Young people also talk better to young people. It's just that my daughter actually went up the mountain early in the morning again, and she was so soundly asleep that she didn't feel anything at all. However, she brought a sack with her this time, and she looked dissatisfied. She probably wasn't too tired, so she didn't say anything. Besides, there were guests here, so she wanted to save some face for her daughter. Seeing that her mother had no objection, Qiaoningsun had no choice but to give him the phone. Chu Yanyi pretended to save her phone number, looked at the sack in her hand, and asked pretending to be confused, "What is that in your hand?" "Mushrooms, do you want them? Many people like to eat them. I can give you some." Before Chu Yanyi could speak, Qiao Shulan's phone suddenly rang. "Hey, it's me, what? How could this happen? Don't worry, I'll be there right away. You take the child to the hospital first, and then tell me the name of the hospital." After hanging up the phone, Qiao Shulan told her daughter, "Breakfast is already prepared in the kitchen. Eat it while it's hot. I have something to go to the city for." After saying that, she turned around and went to ride the electric scooter. Seeing how anxious she was, Qiaoningsun asked with concern, "Mom, what happened?" "It's your fourth uncle's child, your cousin Qiao Nianyi. She accidentally stepped on a watermelon rind thrown by someone else on the overpass and fell down the stairs. There was a lot of blood on her face and she is now unconscious. Your fourth uncle is on a business trip and won't be back for a while. Your aunt is at a loss and wants me to help her. Poor child, he is only 8 years old this year. If something happens, your aunt will definitely be killed." Qiaoningsun hurriedly said, "I'll go too. The relationship between the fourth aunt and her mother's family is not very good. Now she can only rely on her husband's family. The fourth aunt is still so good to her, so she has to support her. Don't go there, battery-powered cars carry people, and the journey is long and unsafe. Chu Yanyi suggested, why don't I take you there? I have a car. Chiao Ningxun's eyes suddenly lit up, is it really okay? Will it trouble you too much? In this way, she can also absorb more spiritual energy from him, which is the best of both worlds. Looking at her deer-like eyes, Chu Yanyi's voice became a little softer, well, I am also idle when I am idle. Mom, just agree. Xiao Shulan didn't want to waste any more time, so she nodded and quickly locked the door. The three of them quickly got into the car. Xiao Ningxun also brought the fungi with him and sold them when he had the chance. Xiao Shulan called her father, who had already gone to the fields, and told him to take Xiao Ningxun to the city for a review. Xiao Kongsheng was not surprised and asked her to leave early and come back early. Sitting in the car, Xiao Ningxun's doubts became even greater. The car I saw that day turned out to be Chu Yanyi's. I heard that this car is extremely expensive. How can someone who can afford such a car recuperate in this remote country? Chu Yanyi, who got his driver's license at the age of 18, is quite impressive. Soon, the car arrived at the number 1 hospital. Xiao Shulan received another call from Xiangchemin midway, and they walked directly to the operating room on the 3rd floor. When they went up, Xiangchemin was walking anxiously around the door alone. Chu man, how is the child? When Xiangchemin saw Xiao Shulan, the tears that had just stopped burst into her eyes again. She sobbed and said, second sister, she is still undergoing surgery. When she fell, there was a broken beer bottle on the ground, and there was a 10-stripe mark on her face. It's a centimeter-sized wound. The doctor just took a rough look and said that the wound is too deep and may leave scars. Let's be mentally prepared. She likes dancing so much and loves beauty so much. If she knew she had scars on her face, what would happen in the future? But how can we survive? What? It's so serious. Xiao Shulan stepped forward and hugged her, and said with relief, okay, things are already like this. You can't do this in front of your children. If she can't think about it, it will be serious. Plastic surgery is quite advanced now. It won't be a big deal when she grows up. Go to the hospital for plastic surgery. Xiao Ningxun also said, Auntie, don't worry, medicine is making progress every day, and there will definitely be a way to remove my sister's scars in the future. Those medical books contain ancient prescriptions specifically for removing scars, which may be able to help my cousin. She happened to pick a lot of medicine today. You're right. Xiangchemin came out of her second sister's arms and saw Xiao Ningxun coming, so she nodded to her. Then she saw a strange man next to her. He had an impressive appearance and a look that showed that he was not an ordinary person. She asked doubtfully, second sister, who is he? Xiao Shulan thought about the wording for a moment. His dog is fostered in my house, so he is our family's employer. Thanks to him driving us, we were able to get there so quickly. That's it, thank you very much. Chu Yanyi nodded inaudibly. Xiao Ningxun looked at Chu Yanyi and felt that his temperament was incompatible with this cold hospital, so he suggested, Chu Yanyi, you go back first, we can stay here, and I will formally come to thank you another day. Chu Yanyi, I still have your fungi in my car. Just as Xiao Ningxun was about to say she would get it, the light at the door of the operating room went out. Sorry. After Xiao Ningxun said this, he went over with his family to wait for the situation. The first person to come out was a middle-aged male doctor. Are you Xiao Nianyi's family member? Xiangchemin nodded anxiously, yes, I am her mother. The patient doesn't have any major problems. Except for the large wound on his face, there are only scratches elsewhere, and his muscles and bones are not seriously injured. The reason why he fainted was because he was overly frightened. We also stitched up the wound on his face, but the wound it's really too deep and too big, so there may be scars in the future. However, plastic surgery is very advanced now, and plastic surgery can cost tens of thousands of dollars, but the child will suffer later. She will be pushed into the general ward. You can go see her. End of this chapter.